Facebook too.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited about tonight because, Gene and I, it's all we do is talk. I mean, to each other, yes, but we talk a lot to our clients, to our friends, to on here, on lives. So we do a lot of talking, and we thought, what a great way it would be to have this chat and talk about communication. So come on in. We'll give you a couple minutes. Come on in and say hello, and we'll see where everybody's at. Let me know where you're from. Let us know if you've seen us before, and come on in. Priscilla says good evening to both of you. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, Will. So good to see you. I just was texting you that I'm on a live. So good to see you on here. I'm so glad that all is well. Um, I've been praying for you for your power to get on. A lot of people, Gene, in Oregon had no power. I mean, everybody was focusing
Wow.
on Texas, but they weren't focusing on Oregon. So crazy, right?
Yeah.
Hello, Sharon. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So communication. I think, it's something that both you and I do, Gene, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight, guys, we're talking about a few things. We're going to talk about how communication triggers what, like if I told Gene or somebody said to if Gene said to me, yeah, whatever, saying whatever could mean something completely different to me. And if I was tell Gene, yeah, sure, would
Yeah.
just do something for you, right? So let's just give everybody a chance to come on in and say hello, and then we'll get with our chat.
Okay.
So you're welcome, Will. And Sharon says, "Hey there, hello, Iggy. Good to see you. I know you like all about
Oh, there we go.
communication, right? Everything that we learned." And Beth says hello, Dorothy hello, Ellen Jane hello, hello everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to see everybody. And Karen, hello Karen. Good to see you. Now, Gene and I met. God, Gene, can you believe it's a year ago?
Was it? Yeah, it was a year ago.
A
Mm-hmm.
year ago, we met at an expo.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us were had booths at an expo, and I was doing a talk, a workshop, and it was actually the same time that James Van Prague was doing a talk. So we had a few people in my chat, which was great, and obviously James Van Prague was the big person that was talking all day seminar, and it was fun, and we connected and we had a session, and then I just love Gene like family. I mean, it's like we talked a lot about our background and what have you. So here we are. And Gene, I'll let you talk a little bit about yourself instead of me telling the whole world about how great you are. So go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, it's been February. It's been a year. We met at an expo, and there was just something about Elias that you know what? I walked by his booth. He wasn't even there, and I signed up to have a chat with him. And I just one of those things that I felt like I was drawn to connect with you, and so glad that I did because we become really fast friends and colleagues in a way. So it's been really awesome with that. And as Elias said, I do coaching as well. So you'll learn a little bit more about me as we go through this if you don't know who I am yet. So welcome. Glad to have you here. So let me know
Thank
when we
you.
get started.
And I didn't want to tell you this until we were on live.
Yeah.
We're also on YouTube.
Oh,
So
yay! How you
hello,
doing?
hello. Jeanette, so good to see you. So good to see you. And she said, I miss seeing you on Facebook. Well, thank you for being here. Hey, Lindsay, good to see you. And again, guys, this is Jean's website. And then if you want to go to her Facebook, here you go. Okay. And then also her Instagram, here you go. Okay.
Thank you.
There's many ways of getting that.
Mm.
Thanks, Priscilla.
I do have YouTube, but it's just at the beginning stages.
In
So
the works. It's
to
in the
come.
works. Right.
To come. Yeah.
So let's talk about communication and
Hmm.
how And communication, guys, happens, as we all know, with everyone. It happens with friends. It happens with coworkers. It happens with family. It happens with loved ones. And I think the main basic, because this is the theme for the month, is love, right? If we speak from our hearts, I don't think we can go wrong. We can always say, I'm sorry. We can always say, that isn't what I meant to say. We can always say something like, this is one of my favorites. Could you tell me what you think I said? So that's always a good one too, right? So you want to
Can I
do
share?
triggers? You want to do
I want to
triggers
share.
first?
I want to share my latest way of asking
Okay,
is
sure.
tell me what that means, right?
Mm,
So if someone's explaining something or saying something and I'm not quite on the same page, or I don't really know where they're coming from, or possibly it's a different interpretation than I think it is, I'll say, tell me what that means. And
that's a
I
good
feel like
one.
it's just an easier way, of being engaged in a conversation without saying, I don't know what you're talking about, or, coming off a different tone or a different way, because tone is super important in our communication.
Inflection, totally.
Hmm.
Tone, inflection, everything, all of that. And there's a
Yeah,
way of saying those things, right?
right.
Yes, Iggy. Iggy's like, what did you hear me say? Yes, Iggy. Yes, yes, yes. So Iggy is part of Pathways Living, successful. Oh my God, I totally forgot. Pathways for Successful Living. And I did that program, and it's awesome. Priscilla has done Pathways a lot.
Hmm.
Hello, Diane Santucci. So good to see you. So good to see you, my friend. So let's do trigger words. So we talked about this earlier. What is? We'll just go with your trigger word. What is one of them? We just talked about it. The word
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Well, sure isn't really a trigger word for me, but it's
Okay.
definitely a word that needs explanation for me.
Okay.
And the reason we talked about it earlier was because if I say, hey, Elias, do you want to go to Olive Garden? And you say,
Sure.
no, you
Sure.
say, sure,
Sure. Oh, sure.
sure. And I'm like, okay, to me, sure means, in my interpretation of sure, means I don't really want to, but I will.
Hmm.
Where in your interpretation, it could be that,
Let's go.
yeah, sure, let's do
Yeah.
that. You know, so just really understanding that words that may have us feeling a certain way may not necessarily be the way that it's intended, and
Right.
just being aware of that.
Right.
Yeah. So
And
I'd be interested to hear some of the other people's words.
yeah, like what do you guys have while we're waiting? One of mine is, like I said, whatever. I
Mhm.
don't know what it is about the word whatever, because if I said, do you want to go see a movie? And you say,
Whatever.
just her saying that, just like that, is like, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, do you really care or not?
Mhm.
Because instead of saying whatever, you could say something like, it doesn't really matter to me.
Mhm.
I'm good with ever.
Right.
Um,
I
oh,
could,
you
but
could.
the point of this is just to show that obviously there's something about that word
Yeah,
that triggers and needs some healing and releasing and connecting, and why is this happening, and why does this word bother me so much?
right,
But
exactly.
it's really your interpretation of whatever and not mine, right?
And different cultural words, sure.
Hmm.
Karen said the word fine. Now,
Hmm.
Iggy or Priscilla, can you please put in? I know what it is, but I don't want to say it. Can you put in what the definition of fine is? I love this definition of fine. Fine. It's awesome. Um,
So it's interesting. She says the word's fine. I'm just going to share something from my past. Is that so? I grew up in a household where my parents were deaf. So talking about culture and how things are different. So when they say fine, like fine, that's a sign on their chest, fine. It'd be like, oh, how are you? Fine, fine, and that's just, they're good, and it doesn't mean like fine, you know what I mean? So they really wouldn't use it, or my parents wouldn't use it in that way, like fine, in a negative way. So it's interesting about the culture. It made me think about that.
So
You know,
when
upbringing.
somebody is deaf and they're using sign, isn't the facial expression that also tells a lot too with
It is the
the
facial
font?
expression, body language. Yeah,
Right. Well, I'm going
just
to
like
put
us.
up, right. I'm going to put up what Priscilla said about what fine is. So, guys,
Hmm.
I'm not going to say it, but take a look at what fine is. It's effed up. Sorry, I won't say the whole thing. Insecure, neurotic, and emotional. That's somebody that's fine.
That's interesting.
Right.
That is
Now,
somebody's interpretation of fine, for sure.
yes. And Jeanette says her trigger is that's fine. That's
Ah,
fine. And that's interesting too. So I find that now Iggy says, why not? So Iggy, tell us, why not a trigger word for you? Why is that a trigger phrase for you? Because I think, what we're not understanding is we'll take what somebody means for us. We'll take it for what's their interpretation. We won't
yeah,
be like, because what I've learned through training and doing everything else now, I've learned to, what did you mean by that? Because when I say that, it means this, like you said earlier. This means this for me. Is that what you mean by it? And then they can explain it, right?
help me understand what that means.
Yeah, yes. Now, Iggy says, or the clean version is frustrated, insecure, neurotic, and evasive. Oh, evasive. That's good.
So,
That's
Iggy, when
very
you said
good.
why not, I'm curious, is it why not as a response to you not wanting to do something, or, well, why not? Is it the questioning of things? I'm curious where the why not comes in.
Yeah.
So,
Jeanette says, I can feel their energy, so I don't like those words. Yes, if you're an empath, guys,
mhm.
if you are that empath and it's that energy that goes behind it, they might have a very flat tone and inflection of their voice, but if you're picking up that energy of them behind them, there we have it.
Right.
So
I just
yeah,
comment for that though. So when you talk about the energy behind it, being sure that you're checking in with yourself on whether that's your energy or theirs. Because you
mm,
said you could feel the energy behind the words. So are
right,
the words the trigger words for you, or are they the energy that's coming from them?
good point.
Right.
And as a neurolinguistic programmer,
Yes.
that takes a lot. You work with your clients in that way too, right? With words.
Right.
Excellent.
With words and releasing the feeling that's attached to them.
Yeah.
It would be one of the things for sure. Mhm.
Iggy says, why not? Kind of like Jean's interpretation of sure. Got it.
Mhm.
Iggy says, why not as a statement instead of a question? Makes me think you really don't want to do something. Understood.
Oh, why not?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
I got it. Mhm.
Jeanette says yes to energy. Diane says the phrase that always gets me is, it is what it is. And I can't explain why. I, that's a good one. That is a good one. So
That is
how
the
do
word
we,
for me as well. That's almost like a passive aggressive for me. I
so
feel.
we're in relationship as friends, and
Mhm.
and I think we can say, could you explain that? Or what are other ways to get people to bypass, or not bypass, but to ask the questions that need to be asked
Mhm.
instead of assuming what it means and someone can get pissed off.
Right, right. So really being aware when that happens, that trigger, that feeling, then taking a step back, taking a breath, like get yourself together and then ask them, for me, it'd be, what does sure mean to you? Just so I better understand. And if they're like, well, it means that, I'm okay with it, is that a yes or is it more a no? Just so I understand with that person what sure means.
Right.
Because as we know, it means different things.
Yeah, very true. And Iggy said, him as well, it is what it is for me too. And that used to trigger me as well. Now I'm like, okay, it's just it's kind of like they're sloughing it off,
Yeah.
is what it like, whatever.
Mine used to
Again, it's
be,
my whatever.
yeah, mine used to be no worries. When people used to say that,
Oh, yeah.
it used to be for me. Um, and it's interesting. I had, with my neurolinguistic programming and training and that, I had a relationship where the person I was with would go like drop the mic, like they'd say something and they go, and it used to just get me, you know. And so thankfully I had somebody who worked with me with that, and I don't feel that way anymore. So when I hear somebody do that, like pucker their lips, I'm like, I laugh. It totally shifted the way that I feel about that. And so I used to go, don't me, you know. So I used to get really, really triggered by that word. And so, so thankfully I was, thank you, Jeremiah, for working with me on that to release that. Because today, actually, my sister and I were together, and she was putting on chapstick, but she was behind a computer screen, and I heard her go, and it didn't even. I was like, "What are you doing?" You know, but it didn't trigger me, which was really cool and really interesting. So, watching how we respond to those words or those feelings that come with it, and really being aware of it, and then being able, you know, to work and shift those is pretty cool.
And that's what we're talking about, guys. It is so important when you're in a love relationship, and it can be love of work, love of friends, love of a partner. It is important to ask the questions that you need, because I think for me as well, in past relationships, I would be, oh my gosh, I don't want to upset them. Well, but then what am I doing? I'm upsetting myself. I'm getting upset by the whole situation instead of taking, stance and saying, could we go over this for a moment just so I have clarification? And clarifying your words are the most important thing, because like everybody has said, it's about interpretation. Now, I have to tell you, this would be one of my most trigger words. Ready? There's no more chocolate. I would agree with you, Karen, 100%. If somebody told me there's no more chocolate, I'd be like, what? So thank you for that giggle. Jeanette says, how to tune it off, the energy of some people. So yes, I mean, if you're an empath, and I think we've talked about this before. We did do an empath type of workshop. But if you're an empath, it's really about being grounded and really setting your own personal boundaries within self, within your own energy, of how you can really shut that out. Now, here's the thing. If somebody is bothering you or you're feeling it, go wash your hands. It's that simple. Go wash your hands, stamp your feet on the floor, ground yourself. Lindsay says, mine is, well, in my family, it's usually followed by something negative, or it's said during an argument. Interesting. See, and you guys all have these great ones. I also feel triggered sometimes when someone says, I'm okay, because my version of okay is I'm not so good, but others may really be okay, and I have to accept that there are two different versions of being okay. I get that. Okay. Amy says,
that's where it comes in of asking, well, what is
right,
okay for
totally.
you? What does that mean? Just if it's a relationship, that you're wanting more clarity on,
Right.
it would be a good idea to ask what that means for them if you want to know.
And Amy says, this is a great picture, Amy. Amy says, sure, can be sarcastic like Kelly,
Yeah.
or 80s. I'm so sure. Yeah, I remember. I was a child of the 80s in high school. I do remember. Good evening, Irma. Good to see you. Hello, Dee Dee. Definitely, especially with a judgy look. Oh yeah, I am so sure. Yeah, totally. I could do that 1980s thing. Whatever. I hate that one. I know. I said that earlier. I hate the whatever. Or I dislike it a lot, I should say. All right. So we've got our trigger words, right? The next thing that I want to talk about that you and I discussed earlier is, let's go to, so we talked about speaking. What about being heard? Are you being heard? So we're going to do something that we talked about.
Oh, we are?
We are. Just a little role play. So what happens, guys, if you're not being heard? So if Jean's going to overtalk me, what can you do? And I'm going to show you a really cool psychological thing that happens. Okay. I read it in psychology today, by the way. So this is a surprise to her.
Yeah, I know, Elias. And what else do you have to say? I don't want to hear it.
She's talking over me. And then I have to talk louder than that. That's normally the thing that we have to do, right? And then
Yeah.
what would you do? You would do what?
I'd be like, well, I need to go shopping, and
Okay, I
which has
just grabbed
nothing
my
to do with
pen
what
and I
you're
grabbed
talking
my
about right
pen.
now.
And what
And
were
I'll
you
just keep
saying?
talking louder and louder and louder until you stop talking. Is that what we were doing?
So when you're in a group and you drop your pen, it makes everybody look at what you did. And then you start talking from the ground up and start talking. That's a great one. Obviously, it didn't work with Jean right now,
No,
but it's.
I was too self-absorbed there. And that's part of it, right? Is not listening what the other person has to say and just being aware of what you want to say next, or having your words come out.
And what would you do? How would you handle that?
Well, if I was interrupted, I would take the interruption and then continue. But if it got to that, like multiple people are over talking each other, I tend to sit back until it's done. And then I'll say, can I finish now? Or, just to kind of show that, hey, I'm aware that you are talking and I have something to say, and without being sarcastic or, a bee without swearing,
Right. You can swear. You can
just,
say bitch. It's
yeah,
okay.
just so that it brings the awareness too, that, hey, I was seeing something, and
Right.
I'm just going to say, and I won't have like a look like you gave earlier. You want to show everybody your look? No,
Oh.
waiting. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and it is frustrating, when that happens, but it's also a time, an environment to share with people what they're doing and how that makes you feel, because they might not even be aware
That they're
of
doing
what
it.
they're doing and how that makes you feel,
Right.
because to them it might not matter. The louder the better, the more people talking over each other the better, but to you or to me it means something, right? It might not even be meaning, I'm not being heard. It could also trigger parts inside of me or inside of people that would be like, they don't care what I have to say. They don't value me. All these things that may or may not be true, but because those are happening, it might be triggering some other things within us.
And I'm remembering two things. Iggy has a question. I'll get to that in a second. Or he has a thing. So, because I'm 5'4", and I've been sitting around a table, we're talking, and people are talking over me, and I don't like to shout. When many of you remember, the Chicagoans remember Ed DeBevick's restaurant, and we used to have to project our voice as servers or server trainers or whatever, not so much as when I managed, but when I was a server, yes. And it's a 50s, 60s crazy diner place. It's no longer there right now. So I have no problem projecting my voice, but I didn't like to do it. And what I'll do is, if we're sitting at a table, I'll just stand up. I'll stand up while people are talking, and I'll just stand until people either look at what I'm doing, and I'll just stand. And that's happened before, and that was quite effective. Now, Iggy wanted to explain dropping the pen again. So if there's like a couple people talking, or you and somebody else, and they're interrupting you, and you're discussing, drop a pen and start talking as you're coming back up. And 9 out of 10 minus Gene, 9 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, they'll stop talking. Now, my mom used to do this tactic. My mom, when she wanted people to pay attention to her, my mom's over here. My mom was very Jackie Onassis type, person. And she would talk like this. And she would have a lower voice. And you had to really pay attention if you wanted to hear what she was saying. Worked every time. My dad, typical Greek, my dad would be so loud. And if it was if we went to his side of the family, my dad's side of the family, it was loud. It was, 5 siblings, 4 boys, 1 girl. They were all like wanted the microphone. My mom's side of the family, completely opposite. Everybody shared the microphone. People talked in a nice, quiet way. It was so not Greek. It was just really. Now, trust me, you work my mother up, you get her into that like the last straw kind of thing. Oh, she could let loose. You would have to leave the house because you could actually, out of this 5-foot woman came this eruption that you knew that you, because the moment I got this and that eyebrow went up, I knew that I was in trouble. I knew that there was something coming on. All right. Let's see what people are saying. Well, actually, like wall is something my mother would say in a judge you out. Wall. Oh, I get it. I get it. Aha. We had antibiotics in Milwaukee too. Hilarious. Yes. And do you know, Amy, I don't know if you know this. I helped open up the Milwaukee antibiotics. I was there and we, it was the first crew that I came and helped trained. So that was fun. So, oh yes, the look and pause. I was taken, then the look again. I was talking, then the look again. Yes. She did. I was talking. Yes. I love that. That's good too. Okay. So we're talking about being heard. We're talking about talking. And we also talked about awareness of others and the awareness that we have of other people within a relationship and how we communicate with them. The big thing that I think COVID has taught many people is about being at the dining room table, being with somebody without this. I think nothing is worse than being with a group of people and someone's always on the phone.
Or when Elias is talking to me and I just go, right, on my phone.
Yeah.
What does that feel like, right?
That I don't matter.
Could that trigger, right, to you? That would mean
to me.
Some people would be like, sure, she's looking at her phone while she's multitasking with me. But being aware that matters.
Now, the difference is if somebody said to me, I'm expecting a really important phone call or an important text, I might have to check it if it dings. Are you okay with that? And what I would do is I would ask the person, can you hold on for 1 second? Stop that thought. Let me check. And that's that. And that's what I would be asking the person if possible. If not, and let me tell you, I am not, I'm not one to lose my cool usually, but I have been known to do the exact same thing that I'm saying that pisses me off because I've done it pre-pathways. I would say pre-learning a lot of leadership quality stuff. I have done that, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like, yes, it's business, but if I'm with people, business should be put aside. If it's something really important, what did we do with before cell phones? We had to go to the pay phone and call our voicemail and check the voicemail. Or we'd have to wait till we got home and see what would happen, right? Amy's putting, yes, exactly. My dad perfected the look. Oh yeah, there's that look. That look is truly there. Yes. Usually, you're funny, Priscilla. You're hysterical. So, what do you want to add about awareness of others?
Sure. So one of the things I was actually just thinking about at the end there was how we as individuals take in information and how we process that and file that in our own minds and bodies. So oftentimes things can happen. You and I could be walking down the street. We see the same car go by. For you, no big deal. For me, reminds me of my dad, goes back into that memory, creates a feeling, and then out comes my action of that, right? I might get sad, I might be happy, I might be like, oh, that was a car my dad had, or, so whatever that experience is for me could be totally different for you.
Right.
So really understanding in that partnership, in that relationship, that if something that I or my partner or you and your partner experience, and they're like, oh, I just don't understand why this is a big deal to you. It's not for them to understand. It's important to you, and having that same respect for others when they have something that is important to them, even if we don't feel it, understanding that they have an experience or some connection to that thing or whatever it might be, that is happening, I guess. I don't know how to end
No,
that, but
right.
yeah.
And I think, again, guys, what we're trying to say here is, okay, because we throw in the intuitive piece in here, but who was it? Jeanette said it, and it is about feeling that person's energy. It's about being with that person and treating them like you would treat a best friend. You would want to find out, what is it that you need? Here's what I need. What is that you need when we're communicating? How is you're learning your communication skills, your communication types? And that's why we call this today, she said, and then he said, because when people are in relationship, all kinds of relationship, it always isn't very clear. You have to clean the murkiness. You have to set those expectations. You have to set the boundaries. You have to say, this is what makes me feel heard. This is what makes me feel loved. This is what makes me feel nurtured. And this is what I find is respectful. Now, I might be here. Somebody else might be here. Could they raise the bar? Of course they could. Their choice. Now, if you're constantly here and that other person is here and they're not doing it, then you have to decide, is that a relationship that you want? Because the number one thing that we do is communication, is talking, is verbal and nonverbal. So like that I can't do it because I hurt my lip, but to do that sound, that you said,
Yeah.
There is Greek people do something that's very, we would say very villagey. In Greek, too bad I don't know if Barb's on here, but it's called very horiatico, and horiatico is like very much from the village, and it's it's seen in the world, in the Greek world, is kind of trashy. If you do something like, so you make the TSK sound and you go,
oh, it's like the
tisk sound, right? But it's like that. Let me get this closer. Oops, wrong side. And that would drive my mom and dad nuts. And I'm like, I go, can we do this? And they would say no. And I'm like, what did you just say? I know. So I learned that wasn't culturally acceptable. We would say, so what, right? Not if you went to Greece and you did that and you were with some, different kind of people, they would think that that's something like saying no compared to nah. It's kind of like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's a perfect example of something that really is bothersome to them that to you isn't a big deal. And
right.
I'm sure maybe as you got older, you had a little more respect for that than you did when you were younger.
Exactly.
But just understanding that just because it's not a big deal for you doesn't mean it's not a big deal for somebody else.
Right. Diane says, our minds are so preoccupied with other things that oftentimes we hear someone talking and not really listening. So true. It's easy to get distracted. Nowadays, yes, it is. Totally. Hi, Vicky. Good to see you. Too many people assume instead of communicating properly. Yes. And it's so true. I mean, we are always under the assumption, because we expect what Jean might say, I'm assuming that she's on my wavelength. Maybe she's not. Maybe her interpretation of something is different. We have to always check our assumptions. And that's really important. Let me get a sip of water here.
Yeah.
What questions do you guys have? We have another thing that we want to talk about. But what questions do you guys have about communicating? Give us a scenario. Give us something that we can work through. Because, if you don't have to mention who it is, if it's your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or girlfriend or your mother or your sister, if you want to, you can. But you don't have to. You can just say, I know of someone. That's a good one. You would just say, I know of somebody.
Yeah. So one of the things I was just going to bring up is in the work that I do and I see often is exactly that, right? It's assuming that somebody else thinks the same way that you do about something. Mm-hmm. So if I got upset or disappointed and said, how could you do that to me? Blah, 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 to the other person, they may be like, well, that's like a separate thing. Like, that's not even connected. Like, that has nothing to do with respect or values or any of those things. But to me, it might. Right. And so just understanding that everybody's parts are different and they might be separated or connected in certain ways.
Exactly. And here is Jean's Jean's website. Real quick before we go further and take people's questions. What do you got going on, Jean? I know we talked about this earlier. You were going to mention you've got a workshop coming up, correct?
I do. It is a workshop about how to get what you want and how to, the tips and steps in order to ask properly and put the right energy out, and also some healing stuff on ourselves, some connections that might need to happen in order to get what we want. So I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
And that's a free work.
It is a free workshop. Mm-hmm. And if anyone is interested in joining that workshop, it will be a Zoom. So it'll be interactive. If you'd like to email me at my email address, which is, I don't think you have it, Priscilla, which is jean@jeanlynncoaching.com. So the website was on there. And for the first, let's say 10 people from this event here that email me, I will also include a mini session, complimentary, so that you and I can connect on a deeper level on whatever it is that you need.
That's awesome.
Super excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Priscilla, if you can type that up and then I could click on it so people can see, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, and it's going to be a great workshop. And when is that?
It'll be in 2 weeks, but I'll be posting something soon. Yeah.
Okay. So date to be determined?
Yeah, but it'll be in 2 weeks.
Okay.
In the evening.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the date right here. Otherwise, I would tell you what it is.
Okay, sure. Base of reference is really important. Yes, Sharon. Mm-hmm. It is very, very important. So important.
I would also want to point out, I know we have a lot of empaths and a lot of people that feel a lot of words or energy that come through. And when those things happen, just really checking in with your heart, because that is truly the right place to be, right? So if we're in our heads and something triggers us or makes us think a certain way, and it's like, okay, do I really feel this way? Or is this just, maybe something from my past that's making me feel this way? Or do I really feel that this person is intending that toward me? Right. And just really checking in with ourselves.
So true. Priscilla says she was on her site. Can you tell her the email again?
Sure.
Tell everybody the email.
Jean@jeanlynncoaching.com.
Super easy, guys. Mm-hmm. Super easy. So a couple things before we run out of time here. I am going to be back on in an hour and 20 minutes. We're going to do guided meditation. So please come back to hear that for this evening. Also, on the 21st, guys, which is this Sunday, I am doing a free workshop, and it's called Be Your Own Valentine for Life. And I'm super excited about that. Here's the thing. If you refer people to the workshop, you're going to be in a contest. The person with the most referrals gets a 1-hour free session with me. And when you come to the workshop, there is going to be a contest, a giveaway in the workshop. So just to let you know those two pieces. And here is Jean's email once again. It's jean@jeanlynncoaching.com. I will keep that up for a few minutes. And I think, this is a topic, Jean, that I think we can talk more about down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think about doing it maybe in April or May.
Mm-hmm.
So my March theme is renewal. April is all about taking action. And I haven't come up with the theme for May yet.
Okay.
But I'm excited about it. And for those of you who don't know, I promise I won't say it after today. Well, I might not say it after. I might say it one more time. But all my stuff on my computer from 2020 is gone. So I'm doing a lot of revamping and finding when I brought the computer in, it's not on the iCloud and it's not on the backup drive. So some things got lost in the process, but that's okay.
It's a learning lesson, right?
It's a learning lesson.
Why does this happen? Happen for a reason. What is it? It's all of those things. So, yeah. Okay.
And here's the link, guys. BeYourOwnValentine.rsvpfi.com. Thank you, Priscilla, for putting that on there. So,
what I would be interested in hearing some people and how they would neutralize or respond to a word or a phrase or something that came across in the best way that they would know how to. I'm curious how people respond.
Yeah. And I was going to go with that as well. If you take either your trigger word or what normally used to irk you and how have you diffused it?
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you do to diffuse someone so it doesn't escalate, so communication can be heard? And that's really important.
Yeah. Or possibly you haven't gotten there yet and this is your response and you'd like to maybe know or have some guidance on an alternative way possibly to respond to that incident that triggers you.
Go ahead, guys. We got a little bit more time to talk about it. So whatever you guys want to come up with is awesome. And I love this topic because it's something that we do, guys, every day. We talk, we interact. And I know for many with COVID, interaction has been really different. Like for me, okay, I get it that we have to text. I get it. I would rather have somebody pick up the phone and call me. It just, to me, that phone call, especially now during this time in our lives, really means a lot. I can hear the inflection. I can hear and because I'm typing so much, it's so much easier to talk to somebody instead of. I watch some people and I see them doing this. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
So
and this conversation. Oh, I thought.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
This conversation is really interesting to me because it means so much more to me. And for example, if there's something that's triggering or something that's really bothersome, or I'm not able to communicate this particular thing, the person that I'm in a relationship or my children or whoever it is, just identifying what that is, why that is, and really going back to find out what the root of that is and why that's happening. And oftentimes it's different than we may think it is. And being able to resolve that issue and then releasing that feeling. I know for some people, I've heard people say, well, I know they got my text. Why aren't they texting me back?
Mm.
Right. So what does that mean? Like, why is that so bothersome? Right. What's the deeper level of that? Is it, being ignored? Is it,
Yeah.
all the things that we're creating in our own heads or our own responses to why that is? Could just be that they're driving, or it could be they saw it and they're like, oh, I really want to get my thoughts together before I respond. I mean, it could mean a lot of things, but we come up with our own assumptions and our own interpretations of what other people mean by things. So I love the
Exactly.
conversation and relationships and communication and connection. It's just so fascinating.
Karen says what she uses, what do you mean by that? That's great.
Mhm.
Facebook user, this is awesome. Facebook user, overlooking is a concept that has come up for me this week. If I can practice overlooking it and feel the peace of God, it's helpful. I stepped in late, so not sure if I'm on the same page.
Mhm.
You're on the same page. You are on the same page. It's good. So overlooking, here's the thing about overlooking.
Mhm.
If you feel that you're letting it slide and not being taken advantage of, that would be something to look at. If it's happening a lot in your life, then bringing an awareness to it is something that would be important. Kind of like what Jean just said, you know. Um,
I'll
it's
just,
go ahead.
I
I
was
was
just going
gonna,
to step in and say, one of the things that I often ask is it a problem for you?
hmm,
If it's a problem for you, then it's something that needs to be addressed. If you're overlooking it because it doesn't matter to me, I'm cool with it. Whatever. That's cool. Overlook it. But if it's a problem for you,
right,
then overlooking it is just avoiding it. And by avoiding it, it's just going to bring more of it until not till you blow up, but until you face what it's there's a reason it's coming up, maybe in that way or different ways, until that's addressed and resolved as to why you're overlooking it, or we don't want to shove it down, right? So if it's a problem for you, overlooking it is not a resolution as far as feeling good about it is what I'm
right.
feeling about it.
Very true. I would agree with you.
So
I
really
agree
the
with you 100%.
question, the simple version is it a problem for you?
Great job, Lexi. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. So good to see you, by the way. Wow. Good to read your good to
Can't see
read
your
your
face.
text. Yes. Um, so I think when we look at all this, guys, it is about, and I'm just going to say this, and I know you have your piece on this as well, but it's stepping up for self. It's speaking up for self. It is saying that I do matter. And like I've always said, if you say yes to you, the universe says yes back. So think of that. Think of like, am I am I more than enough? Am I worthy? Am I deserving of good communication? And if you're not getting it, ask for it. What do you have to say, Gene? I mean, what do you want to add to it?
Oh, just listening, taking it all in. Yeah, I would say, just in my own experience, of course, I can't speak for anyone else on this call except for my own, is just really expressing your needs. And if things are important to you, explaining why they're important to you. If there's a little kid in you that wants ice cream and the other person's like, I don't really want it. Well, you know what? This little girl inside me wants some ice cream, so I'd love for
Mm-hmm.
you to come along. And if you don't, I'm going anyway, whatever it is. But just really not only expecting others to be clear about their intentions or what they're meaning by what they're saying, but really taking a look at what you're saying and doing, because oftentimes we might be doing something exactly what somebody else is doing to us, almost like a mirror. I think you mentioned it earlier. Um, there was something that you get annoyed by. It was a phone,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. You get annoyed by something that you possibly could be doing as well. And just really being aware of that communication, and that we're all not built the same. We all have different upbringings. We all have different experiences. And yes, words can trigger, and yes, responses can trigger, but really understanding why that is. And is it really the other person that I have the issue with, or is the issue really with that word or that phrase and what that means to me?
So true. So true. So guys, please check out Jean's website. And remember, she is doing a very cool free workshop
Yeah.
and a Zoom workshop. And I'm just getting this really quick, Jean, so I have it up on here. Hang on one second. Okay, there you go. Thank you. And thanks, Priscilla. Go to Jean at jeanlincoaching.com if you want to be part of her Zoom workshop. The first 10 people that sign up, she is going to do a free mini consultation. Okay. And here is her website, jeanlincoaching.com. So very simple. Jean at jeanlincoaching.com and jeanlincoaching.com.
Right.
So, and again, Jean is so many things. She's not only an empowerment coach, she's also a hypnotherapist, and she's also a neurolinguistic programmer. And did I say it wrong?
Well, it's neurolinguistic programming. It's called NLP. Yes. I'm not programming people. So what I'm actually doing is the opposite of that, right? Is we have programs.
Drink the Kool-Aid. You will drink the Kool-Aid. I'm just kidding.
We have programs which really could be beliefs that aren't our own, that we grew up with, that we just don't feel aligned with us. They could be experiences. I mean, a whole slew of things. So really it's about releasing, healing, that just really feeling differently about something that is a problem for us.
Right.
And the hypnotherapy part goes in conjunction with that as well. More of just kind of a relaxed state. I just like to explain that sometimes, because people hear hypnotherapy and they sometimes associate that with, stage hypnosis, where people are, walking like a chicken and doing all kinds of crazy fun things. But really it's more of a relaxation state, so that it's easier to process through anything that we're talking about or anything that we're working through. So you're less in your head and more in your heart. And so that's really where the hypnotherapy comes in. And the NLP is just shifting and releasing things that are not for us.
And I wanted to end our session by picking a card, and I almost dropped all of them. So here's a card, guys. My thoughts are creative. And on the back, it says this: I say out to every negative thought that comes to my mind. No person, place, or thing has any power over me, for I am the only thinker in my mind. I create my own reality and everyone in it. So if you want something in life, ask for it. If you want to get something in life, speak it. And if you want to be heard, own it. So I want to thank you, Jean, for being on here tonight. Thanks, guys, for watching. Come on back and see the guided meditation in about an hour and 5 minutes. And Liz says, hi, Jean. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
Liz, you can watch the replay. It's all good. And is this going to be on yours? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know how we get it on yours. So we'll figure that out. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Dee Dee. Thanks so much. So guys, thanks for being here. Remember, we are always here to connect. And when we connect, we educate one another. And when we educate one another, we grow. There's unity in community. From my heart to yours, thank you for watching. Remember, we've got so many things coming up. So please check out both of our websites and check out the events that we've got going on. Have a beautiful night, guys. See you in an hour and 5 minutes. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.